Hello, viewers. Welcome once again to CXO Talks, our conversation with industry leaders and thought leaders who make the world of technology go around. So today we have with us someone very interesting because he started his life in the Army, US military, and today is one of the top experts on cybersecurity in the world. I have with me Adam Palmer, Chief Cybersecurity Strategist at Tenable. He works out of Europe, as I understand, although he is an American. And he has been working on cybersecurity for, like I said, for 2 decades now. And he was also part of the UN Global Program Against Cybercrime, and also worked as a Global Director for IT and Cyber Risk at one of the largest banks in the European Union. Welcome, Adam. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thanks again. So my first question would be obviously as to what has happened over the last 6 months, 7-8 months. Everyone is locked up. So there's been this work from home happening all over. A lot of transactions happening from home with no firewalls existing. So where do you see cybersecurity go from here?
Big question, and
Yes.
the last the last 6 months have brought a massive change and accelerated some trends as well with cybersecurity. So for cybersecurity leaders, it's brought a challenge to secure all of these remote workers and all of these now new devices that are connecting into their network. And many of them are old, they aren't patched, they don't have the correct configurations, they're not secure. So how do you support all of these remote workers using these devices, but maintain the security of your system? So what the security leaders I talk to are finding is that old legacy approaches to securing these assets are no longer working, because first you have to find them. So you can't protect what you can't see. So they have to be able to find all of these assets often, and then you have to secure them and know what they're doing on your network. So this is using things like remote agents, making sure you're scanning properly, making sure that you see everything connected to your network, what it's doing, and that you are aware of all those assets so that you can properly protect your security.
So what I understand is that earlier there was a system in place where cybersecurity experts would sort of follow certain protocols. So now we are having a situation where even the protocols need to be redefined, right? In terms of when people are working from home, that's not the same as working sitting in an office desk. And there is also this scenario where at workplace you have an internet connection which is probably safe, or you do your bit. I mean, the cybersecurity CISO does this bit. Here, I'm working from home. I have an internet provider who is different from yours to the third person. So I have a company with 50 people, there could be 50 service providers, and the security at each of at their end might be different. So am I getting it right? I mean, so it's just becoming more complex.
Right. I think we knew that the perimeter, the idea of a static perimeter was gone. And it's accelerated development also in cloud security. So we see a lot we work with our customers for assets they try to protect both on-premise that are still, say, within the corporate network, but also this extended network that they have. And it's not just the remote worker issues. One interesting trend that we've also seen is with operational technology, where we see the attackers going after any weak spots. So these are all the smart connected devices. So we like access controls, heating, ventilation, air conditioning that connect into the corporate network. Interestingly, I see this increasingly as a blind spot for CISO. They think about traditional assets. They're focused on the laptops, the mobile devices, but they don't always think about some of these operational technology devices that connect into their network. Even if just for a few minutes or a few hours a month, we still see attackers using that as a way to get into the network and move laterally into the full IT network.
Yeah. So what I understand again is that science fiction is coming true. Yeah,
uh,
you see this in movies, right?
we know that attackers will find any organization's an easy target. And actually, I've done a lot of work in India with organizations in India, and it's a dynamic country with a lot of dynamic business, and the technology that it creates so much value in India is attractive to the criminals and the attackers, right? It's not just that they're coming after money; they're also coming after the intellectual property, right? So they want to steal this the brain power and the new ideas as well. And we see, so the India companies are a very attractive target, and we know that anyone can be a target as well.
Yeah. So which brings me actually to the next question, because the government in India is actually doing a lot about focusing on data, focusing on gathering data. We have the Aadhaar card, which is a unique 10-digit identity for every individual in the country. So there have been comments and stories, and there have been a lot of publicity going on about how good it is on one side, which we all agree, but then how risky it is. So where do you see that going? I mean, for example, if I say government projects and cybersecurity, what would be your call on that aspect?
Yeah, I think that for the government, there's definitely it's a challenge given the sheer breadth of the attack surface, and you also have some very serious concerns like attacks against critical infrastructure. So as I was talking about the operational technology problem, we saw an attack in Europe just last year, actually several that attacked manufacturing and critical infrastructure, caused tens of millions of euro in damage, disabled operations. So I think that for government, there's a clear relationship between cyber risk and business risk. And they really, have to, the potential there is that the attacks could destabilize the government, it could destabilize the economy. So the challenge is for government now to run to catch up and secure these sensitive environments.
Mm-hmm. So have you had any experience working with the Indian administration, Indian governments? Anything that you can share? How, if at all, you have?
I have had some experience, but always very positive, but given the confidentiality, I can't go into the details of it.
Of course. Yeah.
But I again, it's been I know the dynamic business environment even better to talk about in India, and the same concerns of protecting that critical infrastructure, this overall cyber exposure. So. One of the challenges that I've worked with some Indian businesses with is how do you quantify the risk? How do you translate that risk into business terms that business leaders can make strategic decisions about? This was something I worked on when I worked at the bank. Is often as leaders, sometimes we present heat matrices or red, amber, green RAG scores for security. But how do you make a business decision if you tell somebody the risk is amber? So I really try to work with security leaders to try to quantify the risk, focus their resources, use prioritization to guide their strategy, and be able to speak business language to business leaders.
So would you say that would be Tenable's risk management framework that you work with? What you just mentioned, or is there something larger that Tenable is working with at a global level? Would
so
that
we
be
definitely support and encourage the business aligned security leader and to communicate clearly. And we offer products that support that, to help to quantify, to benchmark against your peers, to benchmark internally and quantify your risk. But really our framework is also built around cyber exposure management. And so we say you have to first know all of your assets. Getting back to my earlier comments, you can only protect what you can see, what you know about. So first is having a deep understanding of all of your assets based on intelligence, machine learning. And then also the other half is know what the attacks are, what the vulnerabilities are. So if you have an understanding of what the exploits are, so you combine a deep understanding of the asset with a clear understanding of how the attacker might exploit that. you can protect yourself. You can focus first, we say, on what matters most
Yeah.
and reduce your work and improve your security. In fact, McKinsey Consulting did a study recently last year, and they said if you take the risk-based management approach that Tenable uses, if you use that, you can improve your security almost 8 times
Wow.
at no added cost. And the reason is because you're becoming better and more efficient.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, 8 times, that's quite a bit. I mean, so you are, I
It
think,
seems unbelievable, but the
yes.
reason is because you're focusing resources in the right places. You're optimizing. You're becoming more efficient. So you're because you're not wasting resources on the wrong things.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the key, because when you're in a world where you probably don't even know that your car could be a security risk, or anything, any connected device could be a security risk, right? I mean, that's the way we are going. Okay, coming to that, India is actually, I mean, I still believe that we have a long way to go with our cybersecurity regime in the country. Any views you have on our recent cybersecurity policy and risk management initiatives that just started, this was kicked off very recently, just before the pandemic, actually?
I, I'm not directly as familiar with it, so I be reluctant to comment on it. I know a lot of governments, however, are looking at all their reviewing policies all around the world, looking at their data security and privacy policies, many large governments, and we've seen some updates and changes
Mm-hmm.
as getting back to your question, that governments are struggling or trying to agree on how they can address all of these new threats and vulnerabilities.
Okay, that's fair enough. I mean, so from a perspective that I mean, now let me just sort of shift one gear and ask you. Uh, there's a lot talk about artificial intelligence and machine learning in pretty much every domain, every field of technology that one seems to read about. So, how is cybersecurity as a domain influenced by AI and machine learning, and how do you see the world going forward? Would there be a system where uh, machines would sort of automatically start gauging the risk threat, as you mentioned just now, because that's the key element here? Um, so, how do you see that going forward?
Tenable, actually, we use machine learning as
Hmm.
part of our cyber defense and our approach to risk-based vulnerability management. So as I was discussing earlier, we use proprietary algorithms and machine learning to identify, not just help identify the assets within an organization to help automate that, but also to identify the exploits. So we look at things like the threat recency, the type of threat actor. We look at patterns then. And you can, if you have all of the petabyte of data lake, the several petabyte data lake of information that we have, and the billions of vulnerabilities that we analyze through machine learning, we begin to be able to predict trends. And these what we believe provide solid answers to security leaders about their security. So you don't have to guess. You can actually begin to make accurate predictions about what are your most critical assets and how they are likely to be exploited. And then this is how you achieve that 8 times security improvement that I mentioned that McKinsey advocates. Is you can, we estimate you can reduce your workload by up to 95%. So
Oh,
maybe by the first time you see everything, you think you have more work because you see all of your assets the first time, but you realize there's only 3 to 5% that are critical. And if you
mhm.
focus on that, you significantly improve your security. And we can help to support to do that and achieve that with machine learning. So it's been a massive difference and a really powerful tool to improve security.
Okay, so now I would like to shift to one area which is quite unique. I'm sure it's there in other geographies also. In India, the small and medium enterprises account for a substantial part of our economy, and it employs a large part of our workforce. And as of today, after the pandemic, one of the things that the government is doing is trying to push manufacturing and associated activity in the small and medium businesses.
Mhm.
And my question to you would be, how do you assess cybersecurity threats to the SMBs vis-a-vis the larger enterprises? And the reason I am asking is that the SMBs are usually more resistant to spending on safety, cyber safety, actually, because so we have organizations which I was talking to. They said the biggest challenge is to let them or get them to understand that, look, they are as much under threat as, say, a huge multi-billion-dollar organization which is spread across the world. So what's your experience been?
Yeah, you're exactly correct. Is we know that every organization has a target, and there's can be highly valuable information even in startups.
Yeah.
So I would encourage that even these small organizations to consider cybersecurity as part of their operation. And I think what's critical to remember is that basic cyber hygiene, getting some of the most basic vulnerabilities fixed, can greatly improve security. So just if you can make yourself a harder target and you can fix some of the most basic vulnerabilities, that's going to greatly improve your security. And sometimes the bad guys will move along to an easier target. So you don't have to invest in a several €100 million security program necessarily. But you can focus on prioritizing and creating a basic risk-based program and strong cyber hygiene. And you can do this at a relatively minimal cost, appropriate to your business, and improve your security.
Terrific. So let me just ask you a little more, go into specifics. So imagine that I am an SMB. I mean, my turnover might be $1 million a year. So what would be your advice to me? What should I be doing to start off my journey with cybersecurity?
Sure. So it would be what we've kind of talked about already is using scanners like Tenable offers and our approach to identify the assets in your business. What do you have? And then once you see identifying what's the most critical, so prioritizing these are the jewels that I want to protect the most. This is what's most critical. Then getting an awareness with machine learning and intelligence about how those might be exploited, the intelligence that we offer. And then you would focus the money that you have, the limited budget for your small business, on how do I protect those assets the most, and what are the vulnerabilities? We see in often over half the major data breaches, if you look, it's been vulnerabilities that were known to the organization but never remediated, or they're well-known vulnerabilities that result in the attacks. Some people get so focused on these advanced attacks that they forget that it's really these basic vulnerabilities. So I'd encourage you and say, let's achieve basic cyber hygiene. And then as your business grows, we'll continue to work with you and prioritize and scale the security program along with the business. But start with good, strong, basic cyber hygiene.
So just for the sake of some of the viewers that would be watching this program, they would be, like I said, they would be very small organizations having maybe 25, 50, at best 50 people working with them. Mm-hmm. So if I were to ask you to sort of chunk down cyber hygiene for them, mm-hmm. what would they be? I mean, I'm sorry, I'm just bringing it down to the lowest common denominator level.
And we work with businesses of all sizes. So we have small businesses, medium, large. We have some of the largest organizations in the world, as well as small businesses. It's hard to make a generic statement because mm-hmm. it's looking at using maybe a more basic tool that we have, a smaller package for a smaller business, by looking at how do you apply that and create what's important for you. And each business is going to be unique. Each mm-hmm. is unique. This is why we don't want to just say this is the standard. The standard is what's unique for your business, and that's based on knowledge of your assets and then understanding how they're exploited. And we can then say, okay, this is what's appropriate based on your budget and what you're trying to protect. So it's a difficult. It's really impossible to just say to create a generic standard. It really has to be based on the organization, the type of organization, the type of data you process.
Okay, I mean, I understand that, but I still won't let you go with that. What I would say is, So imagine that. See, I'm talking about a typical scenario in India where, like I said, the turnover would be $1 million, which works out to
Mhm,
about 7.5 crores Indian rupees.
mhm,
So
mhm,
if I were to go and speak to this gentleman and say, you know what, I don't know how secure you are, but suffice to say that there are insecurities in your system. So you need to sort of invest a certain portion of your turnover, certain percentage. I mean, let us not go to that specifics.
mhm.
Certain percentage of your turnover on cybersecurity so that your data is safe and you are safe
Mhm.
from vulnerabilities. What would that percentage be? The very basic. I mean, the person is fresh and he's just starting off, has no idea about cybersecurity. So, what would be your suggestion to him?
Uh, I I don't. I want to be responsive, but it's impossible to give a generic question or answer to that this is a percentage you spend, because it varies from every organization,
Mm-hmm.
and it really has to be based on type of organization, the type of assets they have, the value of that, the risk to the organization. These are all things. What I would go to say is, rather than focusing on a percentage, focus on becoming a business aligned security leader. So be a security leader who doesn't just build blind capacity. Right? You have some security people just come in and they take a generic model. They just say, well, I'm going to go out and spend a large amount of money, and I'm going to buy all of these different tools that I know I need to provide, and I'm going to come up with a list of generic risks. And I worked at organizations that did this, and when I talk to some, I would say over half organizations approach it this way still.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just in my experience, non-scientific experience, a lot of organizations do this. But a better way is to be aligned to the business, to understand what the goals of the business are, what the risks are, and then build your security program around the goals of the business and the specific risks to the business, and that's going to be how you achieve the best and the least cost and most effective security.
Great. I think, Adam, what I understand is from in this context is that there's no one size fits all, right? I mean, there's not one fit, which is, I
Yes.
think, the challenge that most SMEs face, because I think they're approached by organizations dealing with cybersecurity, saying, okay, you know what, you are the biggest risk around. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
things are bad. I mean, you need to sort of,
Mm-hmm.
so that becomes a fear for them, and that's why they
Mm-hmm.
probably push cybersecurity into the back burner at their own peril, right? That's what happens usually. So what I hear you saying is, you don't need to worry. There would be packages which fit your budget, and there would be schemes which can come in, or people who can come in, assess it properly, and give you the right fit. Am I right in that?
Right. That's right. Know what you want to protect. Be
Yeah,
aligned to your business,
yeah.
and you design your security program to be appropriate for your business, not just a generic capacity builder.
Terrific, terrific. I think that should come as a huge sigh of relief to a lot of SMBs in India. I mean, I'm sure that they would want to listen to something like this, because that's not the way it's presented. So I
It's
think,
important for them to know that they do have a target, and there are attackers
yeah,
who especially because of the high value in
yeah.
all of these great businesses in India. So it's good to build security in to not as an afterthought, but at the start of your business and as part of your business.
As they say, you can't. There's no point shutting the stable doors after the horses have bolted. So you might as well
Hmm.
put a lock there, right?
Hmm.
So I guess,
Yes.
yeah, that's true. So finally, just one final question before I let you go, Adam. I've taken quite a bit of your time. Just uh, if you were to tell individuals, so I'm just sort of dumbing it down to my last bit. uh,
Hmm.
Individuals who are walking in and out of malls and shops and stores, and they carry their technology with them, their gadgets with them.
Hmm.
What would be your one advice to them? What should they do to ensure that their data stays where protected and safe?
Awareness, probably awareness,
Mhm.
awareness and responsibility.
Mhm.
To be aware that you can be a target. There might be, if you're using that smartphone for work and personal,
Mhm.
might have your access to your corporate network and data and sensitive data on it. So be aware of it. Be aware of the security policies, and have responsibility to act and protect that for
Great.
yourself and for your job.
Great. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Adam. This was really, really illuminating in many ways. So we discussed right from what governments should do to businesses, to small businesses, and to the individual. Thanks a lot for sparing your time, and thanks a lot for making this happen. Look forward to meeting you and speaking with you again sometime soon. Thanks once again for being on CXO.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.